you want to get us started. Thank you.
Okay, I'm Mary Lou Hildreth. As you all know, I'm the chairman of the City of Gainesville's Charter Review Commission, and I'm here to call the meeting to order at 4 o'clock on April 16th. First, I want to notify the participants and anybody, the public, that this meeting is being recorded. And if you don't mind, I want to take a minute to give a brief review of our charter review history for people that are new coming to this particular board that don't know what we've been doing for the past year. First of all, I want to say if either the mayor or any of the commissioners are watching, we're very proud to be the lead guinea pig in this first Zoom call for the City of Gainesville. So hopefully you'll learn from our mistakes. And thank you, Susan, for doing the press release. In November 2018, Gainesville voters passed a referendum that a review of the city's charter should be conducted every 10 years, beginning in 2019. More than 50 neighbors applied, and the City Commission appointed 11 members and 2 non-voting alternates. The CRC is diverse in its age, race, ethnicity, and gender, reflecting the diversity of our community. The first meeting was held in May of 2019. Since then, we have met monthly to conduct a systematic review of the city's existing charter. With our review complete, the CRC is putting forward 10 recommendations for review and feedback. 3 public hearings have been scheduled today, April 23rd and April 30th. Under the current stay-at-home orders and the suspension of in-person public meetings, these will be Zoom meetings, and they will be televised on Cox Cable Channel 12, on Facebook, and the City of Gainesville's website. Neighbors can comment through email or during the meeting by calling 1-800-876-756. Again, that's 1-800-876-7516. And you will use the PIN number 276-1544. Again, the PIN is 276-1544. After the 3 public hearings this month, the finalized recommendations will go to the City Commission for their review and discussion. At that time, they will decide whether to remove items or move them forward for the November ballot. And at that hearing in front of the Commission, you will also be able to have public comment. Then this November, the final decision to vote either for or against each of the charter amendments is in your hands. On behalf of the Charter Review Commission, it has been an honor to serve our community in this important capacity. Each member took this year-long assignment seriously and gave each recommendation careful consideration. We thank all who presented to the CRC to provide us the critical background information needed to formulate thoughtful recommendations. Finally, we'd like to thank our neighbors who showed up at the CRC meetings or participated in a number of other ways throughout this process. Your input has been and will be key to serving the best interests of our community. And again, we're going to just review the format and procedures. So participants will be muted unless they're speaking. Board members will have the opportunity to comment on the items before voting by clicking the raise hand button to request to speak. And if a majority wish to speak, we'll call on members in order. But I just wanted to make clear that this whole purpose is for public hearing and public comment. We've pretty much had all the discussion. I know we might have some more on 1 or 2 items. We're pretty much not going to be voting till the 3rd hearing, although we may need one vote particular regarding the salary language. But really, this is for the public so we can receive their comments. We have received 2 e-comments, and any comments that we get in writing or by email, which we encourage the public to submit, are distributed to all the board members. So we read all your comments and are aware of any concerns or questions you might have. The public comment opportunities, again, you can do email, e-comment on the city's website, or your live comments by phone. But again, each speaker will only have 3 minutes. So when your time is up. Hi, Larry. Oh, okay. Anyway, when your time is up, I will indicate to Larry's the one that will be funneling through. We're going to have public comments after we go over each of the individual 10 recommendations. So we'll have public comment and any But again, we want to try to keep the member comment, some of these things we won't have any comments on, and I think y'all know which ones those are. So did I cover everything, Marie? I think so. Following the script. All right. So roll call, we'll have a voice roll call of members.
If you'll unmute yourselves to respond, I would appreciate it. Otherwise, I can help unmute you. So Member Barry.
Barry.
Here.
Member Blunt.
Here.
Botcher.
Here.
Campos.
Here.
Chestnut.
Cynthia, you have to unmute.
Here.
Cohen.
Thank you.
Here.
Goodison.
Here.
Henry.
Here.
Hildreth.
Here.
Tattersall.
Here.
And Waller.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, hang on, gotta follow my script. All right. Hang on, back to the agenda. Hang on. Okay. So
Madam
the first
Chair?
item.
Madam Chair, this is Larry Schooler. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
So we do have a caller on the line, and it's not 100% clear to me which item he wants to speak on. He had some comments related to ranked choice voting, so I wasn't sure if that's on one of your items, or would you rather take him now or ask him to wait?
I would suggest that we wait. That was something that we chose not to look at this time. I mean, we had a lot of discussion and presentation on it, but we chose not to move forward due to the fact that the county, there were many factors involved, but I think that could wait till the end if that's all right with everybody else. Okay, all right.
Got it.
Okay. All right, so first item is 191148 supplemental CCRC rules governing virtual
Madam
public.
Chair.
Yes.
Madam Chair, if I can interrupt you, we do need to adopt the agenda and approve the minutes first.
Oh, because on the agenda, I have the supplemental rules first.
Oh, no, you're right. I'm sorry. I apologize.
All right, Marie.
Trying to keep you on your toes. Sorry about that.
So these are supplemental rules according to the executive order that the Governor DeSantis put out regarding how we can be able to do this without having a physical quorum and how we can take public comment. So
So moved. That was so moved.
yeah, I got that.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Maybe raise your hand.
Aye.
We have to do the roll call again. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Can anyone hear me?
Yes.
This is Nicole.
Yes.
In reviewing these closer with the clerk, there are 2 revisions that we need to make. So I was going to share my screen with you all so you could see what those 2 revisions are before you vote.
Okay.
Hang on, I will pull it up. Can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. The 2 revisions, let me get here, start scrolling through. The first is here, and I've indicated this in strike through and underline. It's under the agenda preparation and publication. We were trying to stick as closely as we could to the commission's supplemental rules, but the issue, and so we were proposing that the agendas be finalized by 5 p.m. on each Thursday of the week before you meet, but we realized your next meeting is on a Thursday after 5, so there's no way we could meet that deadline. So we're proposing to change it to 5 p.m. on the Friday of the week prior to the public hearing. So that's the first revision. And then the second is down here under public comment, where it says verbal public comment will be accepted by phone by calling the number provided on the agenda. In working with the clerk, it was difficult to put that on the agenda, but all of that information is included in the notice of meetings. And of course, the chair will read it at the beginning of each meeting. So those were the only two changes that we needed to make.
You need formal recognition of that in the motion to approve?
Yes, that you all accept this, the supplemental rules with the 2 revisions, and then I'll follow up with the clerk to get the document and with the chair to get the document signed.
My motion stands as amended with your comments.
I
Do
still
I have a second?
I
Okay,
still second.
All right, now we're gonna roll call vote.
Barry,
Yeah, yes.
Blunt,
Yes.
Botcher,
Archer, you have to unmute.
Yes.
Campos,
Aye.
Chestnut,
Yes.
Cohen.
Unmute, Bob.
The whole meeting. I don't know.
Have to unmute.
Here we go.
Mr. Cohen, we'll move on to a moment, for a moment. Goodison,
Yes.
Henry,
Yes.
Hildreth,
Yes.
Tattersall,
Yes.
and Waller.
Yes.
Okay.
Passes absent Mr. Cohen.
Unmuted.
Do we need Mr. Cohen to vote or? Murray?
Is it okay if we come back to him?
Is
Yes.
he really there? That's a still picture in his screen.
He's into his Buddhist thing.
Bob, can you unmute so you can vote? Well, we still have,
We have technically enough votes to move on, I think.
yes, okay. All right. Next is the adoption of the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Again, roll call vote, all in favor?
Barry,
Aye.
Blunt,
Yes.
Botcher,
Aye.
Campos,
Yes, and I'm finding out if you don't click in the screen and you push your space bar, it doesn't recognize it. You got to be in the screen for it to work, but yes.
Chestnut,
Yes.
Cohen,
Yes, and I discovered the same thing George did.
thank you. Goodison,
Yes.
Henry,
Yes.
Hildreth,
Yes.
Tattersall,
Yes.
Waller.
Yes.
Thank you.
The only reason I'm being successful is I don't have to do that. Okay, next is the approval of minutes, 191105. Minutes are from March 2nd.
Oh.
So moved.
Second.
Vote.
Barry,
Walt, you got to vote.
Mr. Barry,
Oh, sorry.
Unmute.
Yes.
Blunt,
Yes.
Botcher,
Aye.
Campos,
Aye.
Chestnut,
Yes.
Cohen,
Yes.
Goodison,
Yes.
Henry,
Yes.
Hildreth,
Yes.
Tattersall,
Yes.
Waller.
Aye.
That was great that time. Thanks, everyone.
Wow, by the third meeting, we'll be professionals. Okay, now we're going to start with our public hearing, 191050. And I believe Ms. Shalley will be making this presentation.
Yes, thank you, Chair Nicole Shalley, City Attorney. And what I've prepared for you all is a simple PowerPoint. And for each of the amendments that you're going to take up, The first, and I'm going to share the screen both with you and for the public at home so that they can see the exact language that you're considering. And there are two slides for most of these. The first slide will have the ballot title and the ballot question. And the second slide will have the actual text from the ordinance that makes the revision to the charter. So that way both you and the public can see it. So I'm going to go ahead and share that with you. And okay. And we will take up each item separately. So this is the first item that the chair just introduced. And as you can see on the screen, it's shall the city charter be amended to expressly state that the city commission shall appoint a charter officer city attorney. And then let me move to this. And here is the second slide that shows the actual text from the ordinance. And you all can discuss and take public comment.
Okay, so we all know this is just really a language from shall to may, from may to shall. We have 3 of these. Does anybody have, if you have a comment, raise your hand and Marie will acknowledge you. If not, we will move to taking public comment if there are any. Are there any comments, Marie? I can't see if anybody's raised their hand or not.
I don't see it at the moment.
Okay, Larry, do we have any calls?
Yes, we do. Standing by on the line is Nathan Scott, and he had comments on the charter amendments. Mr. Scott, if you can hear us, please go ahead.
Are we gonna, who's timing that, Marie, me or you?
Yes, okay.
I can't.
I can also keep time if that would be helpful.
Yes, that would be helpful, Larry. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Scott, if you're there, please go ahead.
Yes, good afternoon. Nathan Scott, a little bit of an echo in the background, but wanted to speak to the charter amendments at issue, starting with the, can you guys hear me, or there's about a 30-second echo?
Yes, sir.
We can hear you, sir. Yeah.
Okay, all right. So I want to begin my comments. Again, there's about a 15-second echo or delay, so I apologize for that. I'm hearing that in the feedback loop.
Muted.
Yes, so my comments are starting with the chair's, and yeah, with the chair's initial comments, starting with the diversity of the composition of the board. For the record, I want to note that the board itself lacks political diversity. It is strictly appointed by a political party. So that is a concern. It is not diverse by political content. Secondly, with respect to the amendments, I appreciate the service of the members of the panel. Each of you bring unique skill set to discussing the amendments. But let's be honest, this is one of the worst examples of political gerrymandering I've seen in my time in Gainesville. Every one of these proposals is a power grab, with the exception of appointing the city attorney. But the thought of raising commissioner salaries in the midst of a global pandemic is utterly tone deaf. Extending commission terms is tone deaf, and having a internal auditor instead of a city auditor should also be reviewed. So I'm not in favor of the majority of the amendments. I would ask each of the members to consider whether this is the right time, because it's not, to increase part-time commissioner salaries. This is not a full-time job. They may think they're full-time commissioners, they're not. And again, this is one of the poorest examples of, the worst examples of political gerrymandering I've seen in my lifetime, notwithstanding the fact that there is no political diversity whatsoever on the Charter Review Commission. So I just wanted to make my views known. You guys can go ahead and put these forth. I would encourage the public to vote overwhelmingly no on all of the amendments that deal with extending the term limits of city commissioners as well as increasing their salaries. That is just utterly tone deaf. And I hope the commission will have a good comment. And again, there is a echo and a time delay, which causes feedback here, which I apologize. But I wanted to express my concerns, first and foremost, about the overwhelming lack of political diversity on the commission, on the Charter Review Commission, as well as the proposals being put forward are strictly driven by politics. And that's not good governance for the citizens of Gainesville. So I encourage everyone in the city of Gainesville to vote no on a lot of these gerrymandered political proposals. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any more, Larry?
Chair, we do have a new caller, but I'm going to ask that if you give us a second just to get that person's information. If there's anything the board wants to discuss in the meantime, we want to get the person's information and see which item they're calling about. So we'll be right back with you.
Okay, and I think it's important, if I might, for people, we're going to be going through each of the 10 individually. So if you have one in particular, you can wait till that particular one comes up and you can call in for that particular one unless you have an overall general statement like Mr. Scott did.
And excuse me, I don't have the raise hand thing on my screen this time for some reason, but I wanted to say something to part of Mr. Scott's remark. We have never had any discussion about these items since before the pandemic. So, you know, a number of his comments talked about now during the pandemic. We weren't thinking about pandemic in the previous discussions.
Good point, Mr. Brown. Any more, Larry?
Okay. They just approved what?
We should have someone here shortly.
They just approved the minutes of the last meeting, and now they're reviewing the proposed charter amendment to require appointment of a city attorney, I believe. So they're in the very beginning.
Who's speaking?
I'm not sure.
That's my colleague who's trying to get information from the caller. Sorry about that.
Well, it's not that we shall appoint a city. It is we shall appoint a city attorney, but then the only thing is it's going from the word may to shall. It's not like we didn't have the city attorney before in there. It's just a one-word change.
Chair Jeremiah here.
Mm-hmm.
I think that might be all the public comment we have for this first one. Can we move on to vote and just keep moving? Because I think more people are going to want to comment about
Sure.
the GRU general manager and those other things.
Well, Larry said he had one more caller that they were trying to get information from, so we can yeah.
That's what that was. I get that
Yeah.
now.
Larry?
And just as a point of clarification, you all don't need, as the chair stated at the beginning, you don't need to vote on each of these today because they will progress to the next public hearing unless you all want to remove one and not have it move forward. And at the final public hearing, you all will vote on which ones you want to move forward to the city commission.
Can I just make one comment? And I do agree with Mr. We all know that last time we met, we weren't in this pandemic, and I don't know about the rest of you, but for me, I can say that my view has had some significant changes just due to this situation, and we don't know how long it's going to go. So I don't know at what point we'll want to talk about those things, but you know, I'll just give you an example on this one. I mean, is it really that urgent?
Unmuted.
Is it really that urgent? Is it that really big of a difference between may and shall? It seemed so important at the time when we talked about it, but I mean, we have 10 amendments and 3 of them are the may and shall things. And I know that it's for, you know, just to have everything uniform, but I'm just not sure if it's really crucial or essential. It's the word we use now is, so that's just a thought.
Madam Chair,
Mm-hmm.
I agree with your comments. I think at some point we should set aside a couple minutes to discuss that. I'm concerned about ballot fatigue and having, you know, these are 10 items that we're proposing that we don't know if they're going to move on, but those are in addition to the county charter questions and all the other elected officials that'll be on those fall ballots. So I think it would be relevant to talk about. I'd want to talk about that.
Well, let's do this. We have 3 hearings. Let's move through these so we can get as much public comment as possible and see what time we have at the end of this meeting. If not, we still have time. We have 2 more hearings to discuss once after we get everybody's comments and see how the neighbors feel about these things given our current circumstances. Is that good for everybody?
Yeah.
Yes.
Madam Chair, I wonder if we're able to, in the ballot process, if the things we suggest that would have a direct fiscal impact, if we can suggest that they not become, not be implemented, not be effective until the economy is in a usual equilibrium again.
Hey, well, Mr. Blount, I appreciate that. And I think, again, let's get through these different ones. And then when we have the public gets to speak, and we'll see where we are, but that's certainly something that we could discuss. Okay, Larry, are there any more calls, or can we move on to the next one?
Yeah, our caller is not is holding, but not to speak on this item. It's a future item. So
fine. Okay, Ms. Nicole, you can move on.
Do you want to call the next item since we're going to go item by item in the agenda?
Oh, I thought this. Yes, I'm sorry. The next item is 191051, proposed charter amendment to retitle the clerk of the commission to city clerk and to require appointment of a city clerk. And again, this is simply the same. Well, go ahead, Nicole.
This slide shows the ballot title and the ballot question, and I won't read them to you since you all can see them.
And just as background, that's a may and a shall. And then the city clerk herself approached our board and requested that she be called city clerk instead of clerk of the commission. And I'm a city clerk as well. And so I certainly understand that that is a more fitting title for a municipal clerk is city clerk. So. And do we have any public comment on that, Larry?
we do not.
Okay, I think we can move along then. Next one is 191052, proposed charter amendment to require appointment of a city internal auditor. And again, this is the same thing where it's just going from may to shall. So we weren't changing anything regarding the city auditor. So that might be might be some confusion in our first caller. It's the same language, just changing shall and may. And
here's the ballot title in question and the language.
Yeah. Thank you. Sorry, I had to throw my dog out. Do we have any calls on this one, Larry?
We do not.
All right, then I guess we can move along. So the next one is 191053, the proposed charter amendment to extend the term limits of the mayor and city commissioners.
And here is the ballot title in question, extending from 2 consecutive full terms to 3 consecutive full terms. And then here is the language.
And again, as if I can provide a little background, the board on a lot of these things wasn't always unanimous. And on this one, we had some people that didn't like term limits, some people that thought they should keep them the same. And this was kind of our compromise, was to 3 consecutive terms, which would be equal to 12 years with the current change in the number of years that they can serve as a term. So that's just kind of the thoughts that were behind that one. Do we have any comments, Larry?
Hey, Mary, can I talk about this? Mary Lou, can I talk about this for a second?
Absolutely.
This is one of the ones that doesn't seem as important to me now as it did a few months ago. And I wanted to kind of get a sense for how the rest of the board was feeling about this. I'm opposed to term limits. I think it's bad governance. I think it, for all the things that we talked about before, is it concentrates institutional knowledge in unelected officials. It increases corruption, all that kind of stuff. But I don't know if this is a good thing for us to move forward with right now. And I kind of just wanted to get a sense for what the rest of the board was feeling.
You know, again, Jeremiah, I agree, but I think it would be helpful. Let's get through all of these, and then we'll kind of, if we have time at the end, we can talk about it some. I mean, I don't want to say I don't care.
Unmuted.
I don't want to say that. It's just, as you all know, it's just things have taken on a totally different lens, and you know. So yeah, I think when we get to the end, Mr. Berry.
Yes, I think the mayor is going to have to run for office each of these 4 consecutive times. It's not like we're offering a 12-year continuation of a mayor's election. And check the coronavirus, there may be a different thing. I mean, I don't think we need to worry as much about the immediacy of what we're going through now. This is a 10-year opportunity. A 10-year comes along every 10 years to take a look at the way in which we set up our governance. And so I think that it's perfectly appropriate to do these things. Notwithstanding there's COVID-19 or SARS or swine flu, anything, and there may be others that'll come along behind us. But
no. Okay, thank you, Mr. Berry. Do we have any callers on this, Larry?
We don't, Chair, but we do for the next 2 items. One gentleman has comments on the utility item and then on the commissioner pay item.
Okay, so then let's just move along, unless is there any other of our board that had any comment on this? Again, I don't want to get into too much discussion. I want to try to get as much public comment, and hopefully we'll have time at the end for everybody to kind of let us know what they're thinking. Okay.
I see Mr. Campos has a comment.
Oh, I'm sorry. Mr. Campos?
Thank you. I do want to echo that we need to talk about this later. Of course, I initially voted against this, but I don't want to belabor it now. We definitely need to talk about it later. There's unintended consequences to a lot of things. And I think in this day and age, we're maybe realizing some of that. So it's for further discussion.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Campos. All right, so let's move on to the next one, 191054, proposed charter amendment to delete the charter office of the general manager for utilities, thus transferring administrative authority over the city's utility system to the city manager. And Nicole, if you want.
Here's the title, and Chair just read the question. And you will see from the language that what it does is, the way the charter is written, the city manager is vested with all authority, but it carves out the power over the public utility. So this amendment would delete that carve out. And then it would go on to delete all of the language regarding the general manager for utilities.
And again, without getting into too much background, this was one that was not unanimous either. I think there were 2, maybe 3 of the 11 that did not vote for this and were, you know, adamant about it. And, you know, that's just the nature of why we have boards with differing opinions. But with that being said, we have a caller. Is that right, Larry?
Yes, that's correct, Chair.
Okay.
We have Armando Grundy Gomez, who I believe is standing by, who had comments about this item. Mr. Grundy Gomez, are you there?
I'm here.
Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
First off, I want to say to the chair and to everybody, I wanted to say to the chair and to everybody, hope everyone is staying safe during the pandemic and maintaining their safety and during this time. But appreciate the opportunity to be able to address all of you. My major concern with this is I heard a lot of I've read and heard a lot of the comments and the comparisons to other municipalities, and I think specifically one was given to the city of Tallahassee as for a reason for us to model, as a reason to go away from an administrator of the utility to having a city manager or the city administrator govern the utility and the city. And what's quite interesting is those are very different skill sets. A city administrator running a municipality is a very different skill set. And notwithstanding who is the person within that seat at any given time, in this case, the city manager, city administrator would be Mr. Feldman, and the utility manager would be Mr. Bolarski. Notwithstanding the personalities or those persons in those seats, I think it is interesting to say running a utility, especially a municipal utility like the scale and scope that we have with Gainesville Regional Utilities, is very different. And I think also if we're looking at modeling, the city of Tallahassee is also very different. Granted, we might be both college towns, but the urbanized area for the city of Tallahassee is quite different and much more vast and significant. And the level of things that go into running that utility and governing those are very different. So we're not comparing apples to apples and oranges to oranges. And so what I would like to encourage everybody is to really look at the veracity of what we're talking about when it comes to governing our utility and having what appears to be other reasons. My concern was that we had a member of the governing body for which this proposal is going to go to coming and encouraging a certain outcome, which was concerning to me and to many other residents. If you're a member of the governing body, which is this proposal is going to govern to, and you've already taken a stance before you all even had an opportunity to vote on it, was quite significant and unethical. The city attorney, while she didn't really say too much publicly, and some members of the public presented some to her, she was quite silent, and which was interesting on that as well. But my concern mostly with this is that it is not the same thing to run a utility as an administrator as it is to run a municipality. So I would encourage you all to vote no on this, and I appreciate the opportunity to address you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Armando. Are there any more
Chair,
calls?
I just wanted to let you know, yeah, we did get a call while Mr. Grundy Gomez was speaking. We're going to screen that call and let you know if it's on this topic or another one. So we'll be back in just a second.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Ms. Jorge.
So for while we're waiting, point of clarification, I don't know if we talked about this in the beginning or not of the procedure, but all of these proposals that we are voting on to move forward will be forwarded to the City Commission to decide whether or not to put on the ballot. And the Commission has the authority to not put some of these on the ballot if they choose to do so. And I know some commissioners may have made some comments of what their intentions were. I don't want to speak for them or put words in anyone's mouth, but just for the general public's knowledge, I believe that is the procedure, correct?
Yes, and I said that at the beginning of the meeting. Yeah, 3 hearings by us, and then what we decide to put through, if we decide to put all 10, 7, 5, whatever we vote on at the end of this month to put through to the commission, then they too will take public hearing, and they could vote them all up. They could vote some down, some up. So yes, and then whatever ends up coming out of that, then we have the our voters to vote the final up or down. So you're correct, Jorge. Larry?
Larry, we see your lips moving, but we don't hear you.
I don't even see that.
Sorry about that. Thank you, Mr. Campos. A gentleman is calling who says he posted an e-comment related to the term limits item that you just took up prior to the utilities item. And I think that he was primarily wanting to make sure that it was received by the commission. And that his name is Robert Pierce.
Yes, we received that. We received 2 e-comments, one from Mr. Peters and then one from just a person listed as concerned citizen. And those have been all distributed to the board. But we're not going to read every written comment that comes in. I mean,
for sure. Let me just see, Mr. Pierce, if you can hear me.
Yeah, he's my neighbor.
If you'd like to. Oh, small world. If you can hear me, would you like to make any additional comment?
That's not necessary. Thank you.
Okay. Very good. No other callers at this time.
Mrs. Holdred, this is Marie in the clerk's office. I also want to just remind, I sent this out in an email with those 2 first comments that were received this week, with a note that any additional electronic comments that were received right up, in the hour or so before the meeting, those will also be distributed to all after the fact. So they will go on the record, just as ones received before today.
Thank you, Marie. Is there any more comments, Larry?
Yeah, I know.
Okay. I'm sorry, who's this? Are we going on to the next one? Correct?
Well, I just wanted to say, can you?
Yes, I can. Yes.
Okay, good. I've been raising my hand. I want to speak in support of and appreciate Armando Grundy.
Unmuted.
Am I unmuted now?
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to say that I want to speak in support of and welcome Armando Grundy's comments, and I'm sure we'll discuss it as we go forward, but I appreciate him calling in and I agree with his sentiments.
Thank you, Cynthia.
Thank you.
Okay, are we ready to move forward? And Marie, real quick, are you one that can see who's raising hands? Because I can't see it.
Yes, and I haven't seen any raised hands in the last.
Well, how far do I have to raise it?
Oh, I'm trying.
Can you see it now? How far do I have to put it?
No, you do it on the Zoom screen.
But you can't see it if I don't do it on the Zoom screen. You can't see my hand.
No, because I only have 4 people up right now. I have to scroll down, so I can't see everybody. So that's why we're using the Zoom raise hand so that Marie can monitor it.
Cynthia, it's a button inside the app.
Pardon me?
It's a button inside the app that you press to raise hand, virtually raise hand.
It's one of the buttons at the bottom of your participants list. If you click on the participants button, go all the way over, underneath the list, you should see a button for raise hand.
I see the.
She's using the app. I think it's different on the app.
Okay.
She's using the app. She's not using a computer.
Yeah, I'm not using a computer. No, so that's why I don't see it. I mean, I don't see it.
Okay, well.
But at any rate, if hopefully if someone sees my hand, I was raising it.
Okay. Like I said, I can't see everybody on my screen unless I scroll through, but right now it's just me, Susan, Jeremiah, and Larry that I see, so.
Well, Crystal and Walt and Larry are on my screen.
Yeah, so if anybody sees Cynthia raise her hand, let me know.
I would appreciate it. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. All right, let's move on to the next one then. Item number 191055, proposed amendment to increase salary for members of the city commission.
Thank you, Chair. This is one that was a little unusual in that we initially received direction from you all to draft the ordinance. And then we encountered some difficulties in that, and we came back to you on your March 2nd meeting, and you all had a discussion about some of that and then voted to continue it to your March 18th meeting. That meeting was canceled because of the COVID pandemic. So in an effort to try to keep you on schedule to be able to have these 3 hearings, my office took the initiative to draft this as best we understood from your discussion. So you'll see here in the question, what it states is the salaries would be increased for the mayor from the existing 44,000 and some change up to 70,000 and some change. Commissioners from 34,000 and some change up to 60,000. And that would be done in increments over 5 years. And then after that, there would be automatic annual adjustments based on what we did was put in currently in the city ordinance that sets commission salaries. They use a particular consumer price index that's widely known and published. We put that in there as a placeholder. Certainly you all can discuss whether that's something you agree with or not. And the $60,000 and $70,000 figures were calculated using the formula that's in the state statute for county commissioners, but adjusting for the city of Gainesville population. And so that's the title and ballot question. And then, as you can see, there's a separate section because this is all new language because currently, as I said, commission salaries are set via ordinance, not in the charter. So the first A sets the mayor, the second B sets each member of the commission. C provides for the annual adjustment and again lists the index that's currently used. And then, oops, for some reason that wants to go quickly past there. Then the salaries will be paid bi-weekly as they are now. And then E is, this is language that's currently in the ordinance. You all didn't discuss this, but it currently, commissioners do not receive increases if employees in the city's professional pay plan do not receive increases. So. And I'll open it up for your discussion and public comment.
Well, let's take public comment first, and then we'll see who has. I'm sure Jeremiah will. Do we have any public discussion, Larry? Well, while we wait for Larry, Jeremiah, I know this is one of your, Larry, do we have anybody?
I'm sorry. We have Mr. Grundy Gomez, who had spoken earlier, that wanted to speak to this item as well. Mr. Grundy Gomez, if you can hear me, please go ahead.
Yes, Mary Lou, thank you. The one thing that I went back and watched a lot of the meetings, and I heard Jeremiah's point in this and wanting to come up with a formula to attempt to address this matter. And I guess the state regulation comes up with a proportion and a formula for county commissioners pay based on population of a county. Well, the population of the city is obviously going to be quite different and much less than it would be when it comes to that of an entire county. So that formula, I guess we could sit there and go back and forth on what formula makes sense. But I think that we have a bigger problem. And I heard Walt say something earlier about whether it's this scenario that we're going through, or if it's not COVID-19, you address other issues like SARS. I think that we're looking at something else significant, and I don't think anyone is really looking at how possibly devastating that what we're dealing with in the economy could be devastating to the city of Gainesville as a whole with this entire thing that's going on with the worldwide pandemic that is COVID-19. And so the other thing that is really disconcerting is it appears to be the tone deafness coming from some members, even on that board, when it comes to there are folks still making $12 an hour, and tell that to the RTS bus drivers who don't get pay raises to the significance, but we're going to increase that of policymakers. There are people that are still not making a living wage. Granted, we have a goal of getting everyone to $15 an hour, but we're still not there, and yet we're wanting to increase the pay of city commissioners and policymakers. Tell that to many my friends and neighbors that are beauticians and barbers. Tell them to the people that work every day that they're the people that are out of work. But we're going to increase policymakers right now. And granted, you only meet once every 10 years, but the tone deafness of nobody could have predicted this when you were this discussion, obviously. But right now we're in a very different place. And the place that we're in now is going to have possibly reverberating effects for 2 to 5 or more years on the impact of our economy. And there's some of you I know that are not necessarily open to, criticism, but I'm hoping that there's someone else that say, you know what, this may not be the time to talk about this. Because at any time, there's nothing precludes the city commission for also bringing this forward as well and putting something on the ballot if they feel that they're not compensated properly. There's nothing that prevents us as citizens to put things on the ballot as well to change the charter. It may take a supermajority, but it's not precluded.
What happened? Did Armando go away?
He did appear to drop off the line. It doesn't. It just means that his phone was disconnected or he hung up himself. I'm not sure which. Sorry about that, folks.
Colley's raising his hand.
Okay, Colley.
Thank you. I have heard Fauci and WHO folks and others, those good science folks, talk about we may have seasons of social distancing annually for several years. And that's one possible future. So, but I think, you all know we did discuss some of the things that were just brought up by that commenter. But perhaps we should think about pushing this forward, over 5 years from 2024 to 2028, something to push it out further in time to give the economy and the communities time to bounce back and our biology time to bounce back and heal from the current situation.
Thank you, Mr. Blount.
Thank
you. If I might comment quickly, I appreciate Armando's comments, and as everybody knows, this can be done by ordinance, and I am still firmly against having it in the charter, period. It doesn't belong in the charter, and whether or not they deserve a raise is another conversation, but they can do that by ordinance, and they currently have their raises as the CPI each year. So, but that's just my comment. Everybody knows how I feel about it. So, anybody else have a comment?
I do.
Mr. Castro.
So, Colley, this has in here that it's spread out over 5 years. So am I interpreting what you're saying of spreading it out over a longer period of time? Because that was the initial intent, was to mirror it from
I'm still saying a 5-year spread, but don't start it next year. Start it, 3 more years down the line. I said 24 to 28 instead of 21.
Okay, so you're recommending later, potentially, if we pass this forward, to just change the dates of when it's spread.
Yeah.
The only thing I would add to that is we don't have a crystal ball. We don't know what's going to be happening in the future, and if we continue to delay things, we'll have unintended consequences in the delay. So whenever we talk about this stuff, because of what we're currently going through right now, we have to keep in mind, just like Callie just mentioned, I've read other things to indicate there are other things that are potentially looming now because we are staying at home that we may have to deal with. That may be the next COVID-like 19 thing that we have to deal with. So if we start down this road, I think we're going to not be able to accomplish much, because we're going to keep kicking that football down the road.
Madam Chair,
Mm-hmm.
we do have Armando back if you wanted to hear any closing comments from him, and we also have a second caller on this item.
Okay, so Armando, just to have him make it closing, because I don't know how much time he used before he fell off, that he can, have another minute or so.
Armando?
Yeah, look, somebody disconnected the line. I apologize. I wasn't finished, but I guess we could always. Nobody's going to ever have a crystal ball on anything we do. That's just life. Life is never fair. It's not about kicking the can down the curb, but it is about looking at the overall financial picture. We have potentially many things, even the financial health of the utility. There are many things that we can look at. If we need to look at growing our economy, number one, but most importantly, it's the messaging that you send to the very people that come and work hard for this city and give their lives every day to serve the people of this great municipality and city every single day. Not just the policymakers that are there part-time. It's not a full-time gig, it's part-time. Do I think that they should be compensated more? Absolutely. But I'm also looking at the other workers, and I know Jeremiah is big on being pro-worker. And if anybody understands that, the people that come to work for this city every single day, we're not sending a message to them, and a lot of them are not getting these great giveaways and pay increases. So it goes both ways. And the unintended consequences are we looking at, are we cherry picking who we look after? Are we cherry picking and who we care about? Because that's the tone deafness that it comes across as. And I do conclude my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Armando.
And Madam Chair, Kristen Young is also standing by and wanted to speak to this particular item. Ms. Young?
Yes, my name is Kristen Young. The equity issue and who gets paid what was brought up. I understand that people can't afford to run for commission because the pay is lower and they don't have the type of job that gives them the flexibility and the work at home hours, or they don't have the personal investments that bring income in. And so if we're considering pay equity, we have to also consider who's not running for city commission because they can't afford to. City commission is a full-time job. The commissioners aren't all off the clock. They're answering texts early Saturday morning, late weeknight. So I see the commission and the mayor's job as they're always commissioners and they're always mayors. And I think that their compensation to reflect that. Also, I like the idea of a step up over a number of years because that's similar to how employees of the city are reaching the living wage as well. So that concludes my comment.
Thank you. Any other comments, Larry?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
Anybody else from the commission?
I see that Mr. Cohen has his hand raised.
Thank you.
Be brief. I'm strongly in favor of adjusting the salary by charter because the politics hardly allow the commission to do it. And of course, we've debated this. We've have a large majority in favor. The point that Inspector Campos made that we're looking at a 10-year view, not this year. Now, if we need to delay it by 1 year because there's a crisis, that can be done. But I'm looking at the big picture, and I'm going to repeat what others have said. I don't think city commissioner should be a rich man's job. And I know how much time it takes. I know intimately how much time it takes. And those who are commissioners and like the mayor also have a teaching job. They're 80, 90-hour weeks. And we don't want to burn out our people. We have to pay reasonable. We're not paying very high salaries, but it has to be so people can afford to do the job. And otherwise, we're going to restrict this to folks who have a significant bank account. I think it's bad public policy. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Bob. Anybody else?
I also see that Member Waller and Tattersall both have comments.
Okay, let's, Member Waller.
I don't want to belabor this, but when we first started talking about this, I commented that it makes me nervous to tie the hands of future commissioners in terms of revenue matters like this. And I absolutely agree that the commissioners should be paid more and the mayor too. But we are never going to sell this. The city's revenues are already down fiercely because of a month off. And I think this is one we should go back and reconsider in the face of what has occurred. I don't like the notion of putting things that are doomed on the ballot in case people throw the baby out with the bathwater. So that's it.
Thank you, Mr. Tattersall.
Madam Chair.
Mr. Tattersall's next, Mr. Henry, and then you can go after him.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Tattersall.
Yeah, this is a really important conversation we're having now. We've been having this conversation for a while, and I know we were all looking forward to those meetings last month that got canceled because of COVID-19. What Ms. Young said on the call kind of really circles in on why this is happening. Mr. Cohen also mentioned very specifically, why this is a really important thing that's happening right now that I feel like is really important, that we continue moving this forward. We want to make sure that we have diversity in our commission, and we have the most diverse city commission that we've ever had, I believe, in the history of the city of Gainesville. And that has come at the economic hardship of many of the members of our commission that are making it the most diverse commission that we've ever had. And this is something that really we can't overplay here, is that we shouldn't just have elected officials that are rich, that are independently wealthy. This is what we have in Congress. This is what we have in the House of Representatives, stuff like this. I mean, not to go off on too much of a tangent here, because I know I'm taking a lot of time, is I saw Senator Perry donated his months of salary to some food aid groups and stuff like this. He's a Florida senator, and I mean, they make what, $20-something thousand a year. He's a millionaire. He doesn't need that job. He can afford to work that job because he's a millionaire. And that's something similar that's happening here with the city of Gainesville. Is we have certain classes of people that can take these jobs, and other classes of people that can't because they have kids, they have families. The one thing that I really wish could change in this is, and I've gotten a few emails about this, and other people calling and asking questions about this, is this number $60,550.07 looks like it's just a random number, or it's something specific that's not really tied to anything else. I wish there was a way that we could reference where this number came from, so that when voters see that, they'll know that this is proportional to the population of the city of Gainesville compared to county commission salaries. That this is an actual thing that we didn't just pull out from underneath our hat somewhere, that this number is what the city would make if they were a county official. I wish we could do that, and I'm not sure, and maybe our legal staff could answer that, if that would be possible to reference that in there. But that's one thing that I would definitely like to see added to there, so that when people vote on this, they know that they're voting on a fair wage, not just what we deemed necessary, the however many charter review commission people we are.
Yeah, Jeremiah did the math and we checked.
Mr. Henry?
Yes, Madam Chair, thank you. I've been listening to the conversations, and I guess for me, I understand the premise of why we are doing this. I served on the subcommittee, and granted, we didn't foresee our situation happening like it is now. But at the same time, we need to exercise a degree of prudence as well, because the very people that are affected are the ones that will have to pay the taxes to support the salaries of the city commissioners as well. And the economic recovery from this particular pandemic is not going to happen in 1 or 2 years. And we shouldn't fool ourselves about that. It is going to take some time for us to recover, not only as a city and county, but even as a country. It's going to take more than 1 or 2 years to do that. And if you go back and look at the data that we had concerning the salaries of commissioners serving in the various cities, the salaries that our commissioners are being paid really aren't bad. When you think about it, if you look at that data, it really isn't, because some commissioners that live in larger cities than Gainesville are actually paid less. Am I saying that we shouldn't do something? No, that's not what I'm saying. But we have to be very prudent moving forward on this particular item. And we cannot dismiss the economic stress that our citizens will encounter in the future trying to rebound from this situation. And that's all I have to say, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Henry. If I might.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Cynthia.
Thank you. I too have some concerns. When I signed up to serve on this commission, or on this committee, this was one of my major concerns. But given the economic times now, I'm very concerned. I agree with Dr. Waller in terms of placing this in the charter and tying the hands of future commissions. I think that so when this comes down to a vote, I think I have to vote on the side of the people and the economics of the people. This just looks very unfair to people who are struggling. And here we are talking about raising these salaries up to $60,000 a year. People are now waiting every day with bated breath for $1,200 that they may or may not get. So I don't think that this is wise. I think it should be, Madam Chair, as you said, in an ordinance. And we have to elect people who are willing to bite the bullet to raise their own salaries. But I don't think this is the method we should take anymore. Thank you.
Thank you. And if I might, I want to go back to the memo. I mean, you already know how I feel about it, and again, it's not whether they deserve more, but I want to go back to the memo that the staff commented on. And they said that their annual salaries are currently calculated pursuant to section 2-66 salaries of the city code and can be revised by adoption of an ordinance. And I know there's the political suicide theory on that, but this allows for budget flexibility. Placing the salaries in the charter removes that flexibility. At the 2020 amounts, that would create an additional fiscal impact of $181,000. And I think, again, and I know we're not always going to be in this situation, I pray to God, but I also agree that it's not going to be over, at the end of the summer. There's just so many, and like Armando said, I have so many friends that are hairdressers or servers, and there's businesses that aren't going to come back in this town. They're not going to, they can't even get these loans now. They shut down the loans. So there's just a multitude of reasons that, again, we're not going to vote on it now, but I think it's, I'm not for it. So anybody else have any comment?
Member Goodison.
Member Goodison?
Oh, sorry, Susan, Member Botcher, did you want to go as well? Okay, so I strongly support increasing the commission salaries. Whether or not this is the mechanism, I think we can continue to debate that. And I'm definitely sensitive to the economic situation that we're in now with COVID. But I think with the pandemic that we're in, it's also highlighted so much of the social and economic vulnerabilities that exist today. And to me, this highlights the need for a more representative commission and offering access to people that cannot typically afford to run for commission. So I've still support trying to move this forward in some way. I think the way that it's worded right now is really confusing and it seems arbitrary and random. When we went through a really thoughtful and deliberate process to try to tie the commission salaries to a formula that's already being used by the county commission. But the way it looks right now is like we just pulled this out of a hat. So I still support moving it forward. I'm open to modifying it, but it's still an important issue, and it's still important to me that we have quality commissioners that can afford to serve. So those are my comments.
Ms. Botcher? Susan?
I didn't want to take up too much more time adding to it. I find myself very conflicted because I agree that moving forward with something like this, given the economic hit that not just here in Gainesville, but the whole country is taking because of the shutdown orders and that kind of thing. I think that it's a bad idea to move this forward, but I agree with everything, for example, that Crystal just said, that in order for us to have the kind of representative government here in Gainesville, we have to open this up so that people aren't faced with, I want to run for office, I want to serve my community, but I can't, because that would mean I'd have to quit my job and I can't do it on a commission salary the way it is.
Unmuted.
So this is what we're struggling with is what is the political argument versus what is the pragmatic argument. I think we've got 2 more public hearings to decide on this. And you're right, when you look at this, the general public's going to say, well, they're not going to understand the long deliberative process that went into this. They're not going to understand that. And it's it's really hard to explain it. So we're kind of stuck. I think given a lot of these things and some of the comments from on the previous items, that we are facing a lot of challenges that we did not anticipate a year ago when this commission was first formed and we all agreed to serve. So, I'm just gonna leave it at that. I'm for this. I'm for this, but I'm not sure if now is the right time to move it forward. So.
Okay, thank you, Susan.
With that,
Larry indicates he has 2 more callers. Can we hear those callers, please?
Yeah, we've got Janice Gary. Janice.
Yes.
Please go ahead.
Hi, this is Janice Gary, and discussing anybody's salary is always a highly contentious item. I'd like to comment that the commission is not tone deaf, as some previous callers have commented, is we're all in an unprecedented, unpredictable situation, and we're responding to it now. I agree that it is not good for our city to base long-term decisions on the crisis that we have going on today. I think that prudence is warranted because we do know we're going to have lasting effects for this. I think the prudence is demonstrated in this proposal by it being on a 5-year gradation. And I also appreciated Mr. Blount's comment that it could be postponed for a couple of years, knowing that the next couple of years are outside the bounds of normal. In the last elections, I have felt like we needed a broader scope of candidates who are available. And I think that raising salaries allows people to run for the commission who otherwise might not be able to. And I think that it would allow greater diversity in the candidates who are running. And I also think that every single citizen in this city benefits from quality leadership. There is absolutely no substitute for quality leadership. And by offering a higher salary, it levels the playing field to allow more people to run. I also want to comment that a city commissioner job is a full-time job. If it's done properly, it is a full-time job, responding to constituents, participating in city events, participating in various civic meetings that are going on, as well as a multitude of city meetings. It is a full-time job and people should be paid as such. Thank you.
Thank you. Next caller.
Ms. Patricia Lee has been standing by. Ms. Lee, please go ahead.
Hello, I believe that people should be paid the very best that they can for the wonderful work that they do as commissioners. However, looking at the salaries that they currently make, and they should have the options of maybe increasing those a little bit. Looking at the $34,000 to $60,000, that's like a $26,000 or $16,000 increase, and most people don't get that large a percentage increase every year. Also, the salaries that they're currently making are salaries that most people in Alachua County do not make. Considering the poverty level in this county and what people are making, I think the salaries as they stand are pretty fair. And please note that with the cost of living levels that they are, interest rates being so low and inflation being so low, most people will be lucky if they can get a 0.5% or a 1% increase next year, much less a 5 or 10% over each of the next years. So I think it will be very prudent, number one, if this be removed from consideration right now, and number two, that whoever put that up there consider that there's about 30% of the people in Alachua County live below the poverty level.
Thank you. Are there any more, Larry? Okay, is it all right if we move on? I mean, I think everybody knows how everybody feels on this subject. We've talked about it, but obviously there is a different perspective now. All right, let's move on then.
Madam Chair?
Yes?
Madam Chair, I wanted to say something on that last commenter. Maybe people are not getting this part about the equal increments. This is not saying one fell swoop. This would be about $5,000 a year for over 5 years for the commissioner's increase. But also, I want to make sure I understood from the beginning of the meeting, is our only potentials for voting anything today to either, are each of these items either moving forward with no action or being voted off altogether? And I'm deciding if it's appropriate to make a motion to change this to years 2024 to 2028, or that kind of motion is not happening today.
I mean, we can have a motion and a vote, but the idea when, I had a Zoom meeting with Marie and the attorney was that we have 3 public hearings and let's wait to vote till the last public hearing. But if we're certainly in a public hearing, and if you choose to make a motion, you can, and we can vote on it. But we're trying to just really
I'd like to offer that motion then, that it should be over 5 years from 2024 to 2028.
Wouldn't it be 2024 to 2029?
No, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Oh, okay.
2024 to 2028.
You're right, you're right.
Well, I have a comment. I don't have a show of hand button that I can click, but
we have a motion before we have discussion. Walt, can we please see if there's a second?
Sorry about that.
If not, we don't need to have discussion. I mean, you can make a comment, of course, but we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Ms. Goodison is raising her hand.
Is it for a second?
No, it's not for a second. Sorry, I'll wait.
Do we have a second? Motion fails for lack of a second. Mr. Berry, you can make a brief comment, and Ms. Goodison, and then we'll move along.
I was just going to hold it till the 3rd public hearing. That's all. That's when we make these final nut cutting decisions.
Well, you can still make a comment, Walt.
No, I'll wait.
Okay, Ms. Goodison.
This was before we were going to vote, but I was going to say to Member Blunt that I wasn't ready to vote. And I would prefer to wait until we hear from the public.
All right, thank you. All right, let's move on. 191114, proposed charter amendment to increase the signature requirements for voter-initiated charter amendments.
Thank you, Chair. And before I introduce this one, I did want to say, to the extent that you all want to revise these as you're going along, you might want to do that so that at the next public hearing, the public knows that now you're considering something different. If we wait to do all revisions till the third and final public hearing, that's going to be a little time crunch because we literally have like 1 day to turn those around and get them onto the city commission. So just a thought that certainly if you want to take any off of consideration, you should vote to do that. Or if you want the city legal staff to revise these prior to your next public hearing, we're happy to do that, but you'll need to vote to do that. So
thank you.
And this is the next one, and it's pretty straightforward. Here's the title and question that just simply raises the amount of signatures required for a voter-initiated charter amendment from 10% to 20% of the registered voters, and there's the language.
Mr. Tattersall, do you want to, this is kind of one of your things, you want to kind of give a brief explanation why?
Yeah, this amendment doesn't make any sense outside of the citizen ordinance petition. The idea for this, if anyone out there is listening, was that the only way that citizens can change or can propose a law or change something and get something done themselves besides going to the commission, having them propose something and write it up. The only citizen initiative process is to change the actual charter itself, and the charter is like our Constitution. This is an issue that happens in the state all the time, in which we have medical marijuana, we have pregnant pigs, and all these things that are in our state constitution that should have been handled probably by state legislation. But the legislators weren't able to or willing to do it, so the citizens did. It's the only means to do that. So the idea here was we wanted to put in a citizen ordinance process in which a citizen can propose an ordinance, get enough signatures, have it on the ballot, have a process in which they can actually vote on this and create law themselves with the appropriate checks and balances, of course, and that to be the main avenue that this could move forward with, and then make the charter amendments to actually change the charter, make that threshold higher. So something like to get an ordinance on would be like 10% of registered voters getting petition signed, so we can do that. And then if you really want to change something in the charter, then it would be harder. This doesn't make any sense now, and I think we should just withdraw this charter amendment.
Is that a motion?
Do we want to discuss it first, or do we just want a motion?
Well, motion, and then if we get a second, then we'll have discussion.
I move that we withdraw this charter amendment.
I'll second it.
Discussion?
Yes.
Mr. Blount?
Discussion. I am very in favor of having a petition process where citizens can step in and make laws that the elected folks are shy from. But I think that 20% is quite high. How long has it been since a city election has had 20% participation total? So, I would think 15%. But I like the idea of having an amendment process, but I think the bar is a bar higher than our typical turnout seems to say we want it to fail.
Right, but Mr. Blount, this will still be in here. It'll just stay at 10% as it was. It just won't change. We're not going to totally take it out. We're just not going to increase the percentage. Anybody have any other discussion?
Well, I was going to make a comment, but only that we're going to be talking about removing one of the items that was placed in the charter under this 10% level, that would probably not have gotten there if they were required to have 20% of the signatures. But I don't have a strong feeling either way.
Does anybody else?
Madam Chair, just let me know when you'd like for the public callers to chime in. We have two.
Oh,
okay. They can go ahead and chime in now before we take the vote.
Okay. We have Nathan Scott on the line. Mr. Scott, please go ahead.
Yes. Good evening, Nathan Scott. I support withdrawing this increase in percentage. The rationale for that is it disenfranchises the citizens and voters of Gainesville. Government exists to serve the people, to serve the taxpayers, not to serve politicians and political parties. So I think it's reprehensibly unfair to try and put a higher threshold requirement when the majority of people criticize when that's done at the state or federal level, that you guys were trying to do that here. So I commend withdrawing this. Representative government starts with the people. It starts with politicians that are willing to listen to the people. And when the politicians don't listen to the people, the citizens need a method to redress their concerns via the petition process, and 10% is a appropriate threshold and should not be increased. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Scott. Next caller.
Mr. Grundy Gomez, Armando Grundy Gomez, please.
Armando, you're becoming a crank. No, just kidding.
I'm sorry, say that again.
I was just teasing with you, Armando. Go ahead.
I guess I was a little surprised that anytime I've ever interacted, and some of you, and I heard Jeremiah's comment, I always, whenever I've ever interacted with somebody like Jeremiah, I was always known him to be wanting more open, transparent, and participatory government. So to see the idea that he would want to make it more arduous, I was a little taken aback by that we would want to raise the threshold. We want less inclusion, less participation in our government, which for folks that we want to go back 10 or 11 years, when we had folks that were wanting to address issues of equity, whether it be the bathroom bill, the transgender ordinance. This is the kind of things that when people want activism and want to make change in government because they see a social change that needs to take place or something that's important to them, they can put it on the ballot for us to raise it. And we know that depending on where your politics are, we have there's some sides of the aisle that want less. They talk in rhetoric that they want open government, they want more transparency, but this seems to be counterintuitive to that. It seems to be counter to that, and I'm a little surprised that we would want to do it. But I am appreciative of the fact that you're going to withdraw it. I guess what your rationale is, it is what it is. But I would hope that we'd always want more inclusiveness, more participation, and participatory government. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Armando. Any other callers, Larry?
No, ma'am.
Okay, are we all ready to do a roll call?
There are 3 hands raised: Goodison, Tattersall, and Waller.
Okay, let's do Waller, Goodison, and then Tattersall since he spoke first.
I'm with Jeremiah here. I really only supported this when it was part of the notion of a citizen ordinance initiative. And I don't like the idea of it going forward like this.
Okay, thank you, Donna. Crystal?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was basically going to say the same thing as Mrs. Waller, and I think the 2 callers misunderstood the intent, which is understandable, that this was supposed to be part of a package where we were creating a new process for citizens to create ordinances, and that we are going to restrict amendment to the charter. But now that we don't have that package, obviously we're going to take it out because none of us support reducing citizen input. Thank you.
Mr. Tattersall?
Yeah, and we said this earlier at the beginning of the meeting, is that we were supposed to have probably 2 meetings that were canceled because of the COVID-19 crisis. And this was one of the things that was supposed to be discussed then. And if you read the minutes to the last meeting, on page 2 of the draft minutes, item, was it 190890? I have to look that up real quick. No, wait, that's not the right one. Wherever it was, we talked about creating that package, and I think that's just kind of falling off. The last that we landed on, and we never really picked it, never had an opportunity to pick it back up again, was that we were going to direct the city commission to create a citizen ordinance petition process and have that be something that's in the charter, which would give the commission the leeway to change it as needed if a process isn't working or all these things. And I don't think we ever fully voted on that to give direction to staff to come back with an ordinance on that, because our expectation was that we were going to have more meetings to discuss this. And I am getting the feeling it's too late to do that. And I don't know if we even have the appetite to do that anymore, to be honest.
And I agree with you, Jeremiah. It's on page 3 and 4. And I think again, this is something that we, in our kind of white paper, some of the things that we didn't put forward as amendments, but we had suggestions that I think Mr. Henry wanted to make sure that these were some things that we would like to see the commission maybe tackle by ordinance instead of charter, whether it was the issue about residency or doing a citizen-driven petition ordinance. I think that's a recommendation we can provide to the commission themselves for them to do an ordinance as a city commission, because it's not changing the charter. Okay, if there's no more discussion, can you do a roll call vote, Madam Clerk?
Yes. Okay, Barry?
Aye, to remove.
To remove. Blunt?
Aye, assuming that vote is to remove this from.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Member Blunt?
Yes.
Botcher?
Aye.
Campos?
Aye.
Chestnut?
Aye.
Cohen?
Aye.
Goodison?
Aye.
Henry?
Aye.
Hildreth?
Aye.
Tattersall?
Aye.
Waller?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. So that item is now removed. All right, let me go back to
Madam Chair.
Mr. Blount.
No, Mr. Henry.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Henry.
I just
can't
want to
see.
ask the clerk, I don't know if you have me in a holding, but my raise your hand icon isn't showing.
Are you on a computer or in the Zoom app?
I'm on a computer.
The best I can tell you without seeing your screen is that if you click the participants button and then scroll all the way to the bottom of the list, the raised hand icon should be one of your options.
Okay, all right. Because the last time that we went through this, it was actually showing on the screen and I didn't have to click to make it show up. Okay, all right.
Okay. All right, so that item is now removed and we are moving on to 191115, proposed charter amendment to eliminate the restrictions of use of funds for construction of paved services in designated areas.
And this one is also straightforward. The question would be just should that charter provision be eliminated completely? And here is the language showing it all stricken through.
Good.
Anybody, this was a pretty straightforward one as well.
Member Tattersall has a comment.
I'm sorry?
Member Tattersall has a comment.
Okay, Jeremiah, go ahead. Mr. Tattersall?
Sorry, can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Sorry about that. Yeah, my technology rebelled against me for a second. I did get some comments from people that are very big ecologists and stuff. They're really into the environment and preserving it and everything. And they were confused by this amendment. And they said if this showed up in front of them, they would probably vote it down because it sounds like we want to just pave a bunch of parks, which isn't what we want to do. This amendment, this charter, this was added to the charter that actually prevented us from developing our parks and protecting more areas around Hogtown Creek, and actually has led to the development of these environmentally sensitive areas over the last 20-something years. And so removing this would be good, but it reads wrong. It reads like the opposite of that. So I don't know if there's anything we can do to change it to make it seem like its intent is what its actual intent is, because right now it kind of reads a little wonky. I don't have any suggestions though. I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it, and I think that is one of the difficult things, unless somebody was intently following at every CRC meeting or what, I mean, there are, many factors behind these decisions, and like you said, something can seem, not read correct. And Ms. Shelley, do you have any suggestions, or is it?
I mean, the problem is it's a provision that was put in that puts a restriction on something. And so the only way, and like I say, the restriction as you read it here is for constructing paved surfaces. So you're either eliminating it or you're not. I'm not certain how we would write that any other way.
Mr. Berry, you have to unmute yourself. Mr. Berry, you have to unmute yourself.
I think Michelle is correct, and this goes back a long way and has a lot of antisocial background. I think all we can do, Jeremiah, is simply explain to people who claim to be environmentalists what this actually does, because what's happened now, without this improvement, is the decimation of some of the natural areas through the Loblolly Parkway, which are being eroded by the very people who want to protect it. It's being overloved, and it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be asphalted, because there's a whole variety of ways of hard surfacing that are far short of asphalt. And I think it's just going to have to be a public education. It's a narrow area. It was designed originally to keep hordes of people out of some people's backyards. At least that's the way it was believed to be. The result was believed by many people to be that, and they were able to get their votes, and the rest is history. So,
Larry, do we have any callers?
If Bob Cohen's on
Madam
board,
Chair, sorry about that, Commissioner. Madam Chair, Kristen Young, I believe, has rejoined us, and I wasn't able to ask her whether she wanted to speak on this item or not. Ms. Young, are you there?
I am, and I do want to speak on this item.
No, go ahead then.
Yes, I support the removal of the ban from the charter. It doesn't belong in the charter, first of all. But also, I agree with Mr. Tattersall and Mr. Berry's comments that it does the opposite of what people believe it's supposed to do. The city, Parks and Rec, and others aren't going to go in and pave everything. There's still going to be environmental reviews, right placement of facilities. And we're seeing right now that people are out using trails more than ever, and they're very popular, and we need more connectivity on the northwest side of Gainesville. This just gives flexibility to the city of the type and place of facilities. That's all it does. And I'm really grateful that the commission is considering this.
Thank you. Any other callers, Larry?
Oh, ma'am.
Does anybody else have a comment on this or no?
I do.
There are several people with comments.
Okay, who's got their hand up, Marie?
Compost is first on the list.
Okay. I mean, and again, we'll let everybody speak, but this is pretty much a cut and dried one, and we've got 20 minutes left. So, but go ahead, George.
To the attorney, maybe to alleviate some of the confusion, can we either, I don't know how to put it, maybe put it in the title, but maybe in the explanation, that this is being removed because it's already addressed in the city's comprehensive plan or one of the other plans of the city, that or would prevent this from occurring?
I don't know. I mean, this is eliminating a restriction. So yeah, there are other, there may be other safeguards against the city, county, state, or federal government from actually going in and paving these surfaces, but I don't know how we would capture that in here in a way that's completely truthful and not confusing. Because again, it's eliminating a restriction on use of funds. I think if you read it closely, it doesn't say that the charter shall be amended to cause all of these areas to be paved. It just simply eliminates a restriction on using funds for that purpose. So I just don't know. I mean, we could give it some thought, but I don't know what we would put in whereas clauses to adequately explain that.
Who else has their hand up?
Next, I see Mr. Blunt.
Mr. Blount?
Yeah, just offering a Zoom note. For those of you who don't have a raised hand, if you click on participants at the bottom center, you'll get a right sidebar that has raised hand at the bottom. Okay.
Thank you. Anybody else, Marie?
Ms. Gibson?
Crystal?
Chair, I'll make this super quick. I definitely support removing this, and I just wanted to also remind the public that this is an access issue, an ADA access issue, the fact that we're not able to have paved trails for some of these areas, and that would really be beneficial to people at this time going through this.
When you say removing, you mean removing this from the charter, not removing it from the, okay, just want to make sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, I agree with Mr. Berry. I think it's an education thing, whether we partner, talk to those people, the Sierra Club or various conservation groups within Alachua County, to get them to, educate them so they can educate their people that are mostly more the environmental, kind of activist nature. All right, you're done with.
Mrs. Botcher has a comment.
Yes, Susan?
Yeah, I'm glad that Crystal brought up the part that she did, because the Recreation Master Plan kind of has a goal to make all of the city's recreation offerings as ADA accessible as possible. Also, I wanted to point out that I checked the CRC emails, and there was at least one comment from a citizen. There might have been more than one. That supported the removal of this from the city charter, just to let you know, that there are other people of the public that get it, they understand what this, what this is about, and that they do support removing this from the city charter.
Okay, let's move on.
I'm sorry, Madam Chair, Mr. Cohen and then Mr. Eastman.
Okay, we can kind of make it brief, guys, because it's already 5:45, and we still have a couple items to go. And
you got it. To me, this is almost like removing a Confederate statue, something like that. This is historical remnant of something nasty that happened. And as pointed out by other speakers, there are ample protections between wetlands and comprehensive plan and the environmental review to do anything. We are so well protected. This nasty amendment needs to go. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Cohen. Who's the other person?
Finally, Mr. Eastman.
Yes, for the city attorney. So this was originally specified for a specific use or I wonder if it would be possible to eliminate all words after the construction on city-owned land, because that's really what we're talking about. Shall the city charter be amendment to eliminate the restrictions on city-owned land? I don't see anywhere else in the charter where there is any restrictions on paved surfaces on any areas. And that would probably more adequately explain what this is, which is, it is now that it's eliminating all restrictions in that from the charter, which would then more adequately explain it and not give to Mr. Tattersall's point, sound like we are trying to specifically allow this within conservation areas.
I'm sorry, I don't follow that because the question is tailored after exactly what the language in the charter says, eliminating the restriction on the use of funds for paved services on city-owned land, and that's all captured in the question.
Right, but it's on city-owned land as proposed by. Is it possible to say as on city-owned land, strike land designated conservation and located within the Hogtown Creek watershed, as proposed by ordinance number 19115? I guess I see what you're saying is that because it's talking about that specific ordinance. But essentially, what we're saying is removing any restrictions that are currently within the charter on paved surfaces. Because I think, to everyone's point, this goes forward as it is. It doesn't adequately explain it, and it's going to it'll likely get voted down before, and that because it's hard to parse apart. And I feel like that would more adequately explain. We're just removing all restrictions related to this within our charter.
But it's a specific restriction in the charter regarding land that's designated as conservation and located within the Hogtown Creek watershed. It's not a general restriction. So I don't know that that would adequately explain.
All right, well, thank you then.
And I just wanted to thank Mr. Easton for his solo performance on Facebook the other day.
Thank you. That's now in the official record. I appreciate that.
Okay, can we move along now then? We have 191120, proposed charter amendment to further limit the authority of the city commission to dispose of certain utility facilities.
Thank you, Chair. And here's the title and question. And we did get one comment from the city manager who pointed out that perhaps we should, because you all are now including wastewater, which was not included in the current charter language. And it's, as you'll see, it says you can't dispose of these particular utilities in a way that to materially reduce the ability to produce or generate. And he thought perhaps we should add or treat, because we don't produce wastewater or generate it, the utility treats it. So
okay, that makes sense.
For clarification. So we can add that in the next version if you all move this forward.
I think we would just need a motion to change that language on this particular one. I don't think anybody's not going to.
So move. Raise my hand. I'll
move with the addition of the word treat.
Yes.
Jeremiah seconds.
Any other comment? Any public comment?
I do see a comment from Mr. Barry.
Mr. Barry? Mr. Barry?
No, I was just going to offer a second and support it, but that's
okay.
Somebody else seconded, I think.
Any other comments? Do we have anybody phone call in on it? Larry?
No, Chair, we don't.
All right, so if there's no further comments, is there any, Marie? I can't see hands.
I don't see any right now.
All right, let's do a roll call vote.
Okay. Barry?
Oh, sorry. Aye.
Blount?
Yes.
Asher?
Aye.
Campos?
Aye.
Chestnut?
Aye.
Cohen?
Aye.
Goodison?
Aye.
Henry?
Aye.
Hildreth?
Aye.
Tattersall?
Aye.
Waller?
Aye.
All right, moving on to the next one. The last one is 191121, proposed charter amendment to create a charter preamble.
Here's the title and question that we took from your prior direction. And then here is the draft language.
And again, just for clarification, I kind of cobbled this together from some conversations and the model, the model city charter from the National League of Cities, is it? No, the National Civics League. Anyway, so Larry, we got a caller.
Madam Chair, actually, the caller that just rang in had wanted to speak to the item that was just previously taken up. So I don't know whether it would be your will to hear from her or if you wanted to just move on.
Yeah,
Garen.
I think that's fine. I mean, we've already voted on it to move it forward, but you know, her comments will be taken into consideration.
Ms. Garen, if you can hear us, please go ahead.
Yes, I can hear.
Please go ahead.
I did my master's on the Hogtown Creek, and the creek system has had many, many impacts, including the charrette that was proposed for a Long Creek bike trail that was going to be paved using ICE-T funds, and they were going to remove thousands of old growth trees, and it didn't go through. Mr. Coffey was opposing that one quite a bit. Anyhow, any protection that the wetland system can get, and I adamantly disagree with use of any kind of city or public funds in any kind of pavement or wetland impacts. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Do we have any calls on the preamble?
No, ma'am, not that I'm aware of.
Okay. Any other discussion on it?
I see Mr. House's hand up.
I'm sorry, who?
Mr. Blount.
Mr. Blount.
Yes, although I am going to vote positively for having a preamble, my experience dealing for some years about the state statutes on Black history education taught me about the strength and intention of the language you use, and the words seek and foster are completely weak words to use in a document of law that don't cause anything measurable to happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Oh. Okay, can we, so we have approximately 7 minutes left. You know, I understand what the attorney, Ms. Shalley, is saying. I think if we can make, you know, kind of take all these things that we've heard today under advice, and given, again, you know, the different situation that we're in now, if we can be prepared at the next meeting, if there, sorry, that's my dog. If there are any, you know, suggestions for changes, that we can make them, you know, at the next meeting, so at the final meeting we can vote on final language. Would that be acceptable, Ms. Shalley?
Yes, that would.
Well, I've got a. Oh, Mary Lou, I've got a comment, or I have my hand raised, or at least I'm trying.
I want, Mr. Berry, I want to know what your wife brought you in that cup to the room.
It's for my next Zoom meeting, sorry.
Mr. Berry did have his hand raised.
Yes, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, anyway, what I'd like to support what Khalid just said, where I don't see the language anymore, but there's no reason we can't drop the word seek and foster. I mean, I think we can, those are weasel words, I agree. And we can just simply say, hereby affirm this charter to increase, instead of seek to increase citizen participation and assure equal opportunity. That would be, those are better words. Kali, you may comment on that, may have a different thought than I, but my initial look at this in the shorthand response might move us forward.
Well, maybe what we can do is take a look at it and then make those suggestions again at the see what better wordsmithing somebody, if you want to come up to replace seek and foster. Again, I took it from the national model, but
I didn't think it was criticism. Sorry.
oh no, it's okay. I don't. Yeah. Please, I mean, I didn't write it by myself. So if we can just, if you want to look at it, make some suggestions again, and then we can make those, seek some better, we don't have to do it right this instant again. We can do it next week. So if you want to come up, you know, I mean, I like your suggestion, Walt, but I'll look at it again myself and come up with a suggestion. I have a thesaurus.
Sometimes less is more sometimes.
I agree. Okay, well, is any, I think this meeting went better than I expected. I think everybody did a great job, and you know, when I started working at the law firm, I had an IBM Selectric, so this whole Zoom thing is new to me, and I've been telecommunicating from home too, so that's in my robe, no less. So I kind of like that. But anyway, I appreciate everybody's participation, and you know, again, let's be ready. Again, the idea is for the public to comment, and I did appreciate it, the comments that were received, and let's think long and hard about some of these things that we discussed, you know, from where we are now, and certainly not wanting to kick the can down the road. A lot of people made a lot of good points, but these are all things we need to consider moving forward. And so we'll meet again next week. Do I have
Madam Chair? Real quick, I know, especially while we were on this meeting, a lot of emails were sent to us while we've been in the meeting. I've been receiving them. How is the clerk going to capture that, those communications for those who did call in and speak on the topic? They're recorded on this Zoom session.
Correct.
The folks who sent emails, are they being attached to, say, the minutes for the next meeting as it relates to those particular comments? I'm not exactly sure how that's being captured, and I think that it's definitely relevant.
Yes, no, absolutely.
We also had other communications, and some from charter officers and the like, that I don't know have been reflective in the minutes or whatnot for the public to see. I know we're seeing them because they're sent to us, but it's more for the public to see.
Well, the one memo, the memo from the charter from January, is that the memo you're talking about?
I have to go back and check. I thought received a couple of communications. I don't know if they were.
Well, I know that the memo was attached to our agenda, but Marie, if you could coordinate to make sure that any and all emails that are received, but you know, I guess you would have to forward those emails directly to her so she could archive them. Is that correct, Marie?
Yes, so the city will maintain all emails sent to the members' city-issued email addresses as, you know, for archival retention purposes. And we hadn't been necessarily attaching or compiling emails that you all have received up until now, but if it's your direction, we had intended to attach all of the e-comments sent via the website to the agenda to the next minute. So if you'll forward them to me, or we can talk offline about how to coordinate that, but certainly we can make them available as part of the record for the public.
I think they were sent to the email group that was created for us, so it's definitely there. It's just a matter of other public members seeing what's being emailed to us.
Yes.
Appreciate it.
And then I'll remind everyone that the next hearing is on April 23rd, and the next two hearings will both be from 6 to 8 o'clock in the evening.
Oh, sorry.
Hey, what is that?
It's fine. All right. Well, Jeremiah, I hope you have a happy birthday. And somebody want to move to adjourn so I can go get my husband his birthday dinner?
So moved.
Second.
Can we all just say aye all at one time?
Yeah, aye.
Aye. Raise your hand. All right, all. Take care. Wash your hands. Bye.
Thank you, Marie. Thank you, Michelle.
Thanks, everybody.
Next time.